Hello. I have recently acquired some new books, and it is the first day of spring today, so I thought I would do a video entitled Spring Book Haul, because those things match. And you can hear the birds buzzing and the bees chirping. So without further ado, I have divided the books into two categories. Ones I've read before and ones I haven't read. So I'll start with these two here. I got The Chrysalids by John Wyndham. I like this. I read this in school. I didn't make any notes for this video. I figured I'd just wing it and see what happens. Maybe I'll just read what's on the back. It says, "A world paralyzed by genetic mutation. John Wyndham takes the reader into the anguished heart of a community where the chances of breeding true are less than 50%, and where deviations are rooted out and destroyed as offenses and abominations." I have already reread this since I got it, and it's just as good as it was before. This is and you can barely see this, but it's a two-headed rooster. And then I picked up Romeo and Juliet by William Shakespeare. I read it in school. I liked it. And I picked this one because it's a very pretty cover. The rose there. Rose by any other name. And I'll read what it says on the back, even though I'm sure you know what it's about. "She is only 14, he only a few years older. Their families are bitter enemies, sworn to hatred. Yet Romeo and Juliet meet and fall passionately in love. Defying their parents' wishes, they are secretly married, but their brief happiness is shattered by fate. This famous pair of star-crossed lovers lives forever in Shakespeare's haunting play." I have not reread this, and I don't think I will, but I like it, so I like to have a copy of it, and it's pretty, like I said. Next, I have The Last Act, a novel by Brad Parks. This was a thriller about an out-of-work actor who's approached by the FBI with the role of a lifetime, go undercover at a federal prison, impersonate a convicted felon, and befriend a fellow inmate, a disgraced banker named Mitchell Dupree, who knows the location of documents that can be used to bring down a ruthless drug cartel, if only he'd tell the FBI where they are. I read this just recently, I guess it would be February. Yeah. I thought it was good. It's not usually my taste, thrillers. I don't really read a lot of thrillers, but this did make me laugh. And then I have The Paris Wife by Paula McLean. This is one of my favorite historical fictions. It's a beautiful portrait of being in Paris in the glittering 1920s. I read this about 10 years ago now, but I started to reread it the other day. I'm about this far. I'll just read this briefly here. In 1920 Chicago, Hadley Richardson is a quiet 28-year-old who has all but given up on love and happiness until she meets Ernest Hemingway. So this is the story of Hadley and Ernest Hemingway's romance. How they meet, their marriage, Ernest Hemingway's writing and all that, and the friends they meet, Gertrude Stein, Ezra Pound, F. Scott and Zelda Fitzgerald, the fabled Lost Generation, a heart-rending tale of love and torn loyalty. And I'm this far, like I said, and so far it's as good as I remember, so that's good. I also got The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton. This is a heroic story of friendship and belonging. Ponyboy can count on his brothers and on his friends, but not on much else besides trouble with the Socs, a vicious gang of rich kids whose idea of a good time is beating up greasers like Ponyboy. At least he knows what to expect until the night someone takes things too far. So it's kind of like a gang rivalry story between two groups of teenagers and young people. I read this probably a couple of years ago and I thought it was quite good. And I have An Enchantment of Ravens by Margaret Rogerson. I read this a couple of years ago. It's a fairy story. Every enchantment has a price. Isabel is a prodigy portrait artist with a dangerous set of clients, the immortal fair folk, or the fairies. But when she receives her first royal patron, Rook, the Autumn Prince, she makes a terrible mistake. She paints mortal sorrow in his eyes, a weakness that could cost him his life. Furious, Rook spirits Isabel away to stand trial for her crime, but something is seriously amiss in his world, and they are attacked from every side. Forced to depend upon each other for survival, their alliance blossoms into trust and perhaps even love, a forbidden emotion that would render both their lives forfeit. What force could Isabel's paintings conjure that is powerful enough to convey the ancient malice of the fairy courts? I thought this was a cute fairy romance. And now I'm going to talk about ones that I haven't read yet. So I'm currently reading, for March, The New Girl by Daniel Silva. This is a thriller. This is about a exclusive private school in Switzerland where there's a mysterious girl who arrives there, and she's rich, and she's the daughter of a wealthy international businessman. But is she really? Then she's kidnapped. What's done cannot be undone. And then this is a series of books about the same character called Gabriel Allen. I've never read anything from Daniel Silva before. So I think this is like book number like 19 or something like that. I'm assuming that you don't have to read them in order because they're probably all about different things. Anyways, the legendary chief of Israeli intelligence, and he's going to work together with the Prince Khalid of Saudi Arabia. And I'm going to try and find the kidnapped girl, who's a prince's daughter. Did I say that part? Both men have made their share of enemies, and both have everything to lose. So, the thriller, again, not really my thing, but we'll see. I enjoyed the other one, so hopefully I will this one too. And then I got Pandemonium by Lauren Oliver. This is the sequel to Delirium by Lauren Oliver that I read quite a few years ago, but I never got to finish the series, so now I have the sequel. I can read that one, and then there's one more book after this. So this is about forbidden love, revolution, and the power to choose. In this electrifying follow-up to Delirium, Lena is on a dangerous course that takes her through the unregulated wilds into the heart of a growing resistance movement. This riveting, brilliant novel crackles with the fire of fierce defiance, romance, and the sparks of a revolution about to ignite. So this first one is kind of about, like, it reminds me of very much of, like, The Giver, or for example, where, like, their lives are, like, set out by them, like, what job they're gonna have, who they're gonna marry, like, everything's decided for them, that sort of world. But then she meets a guy, and they, like, fall in love, and they're gonna, like, run away together. And then they run away together. So I guess this would pick up from that. Obviously, it's a sequel. And then I have two books that I think would be good for Halloween, so I'm going to wait to read them until then. I have There's Someone Inside Your House by Stephanie Perkins. I think that this title is so cute. It always makes me laugh, like that sort of thing, like there's someone inside your house, or like the call is coming from inside the house. That always makes me giggle. And also this is really pretty, looks like neon. It's been almost a year since McCanny Young came to live with her grandmother, and she's still adjusting to her new life in rural Nebraska. Then, one by one. That's another thing I like, where they have like a group of characters and they get killed off one by one. The students of her high school begin to die in a series of gruesome murders, each with increasing and grotesque flair. As the body count rises and terror grows closer, will McCanny survive the killer's twisted plan? This author is also the author of the French Kiss trilogy, of which I've only read the second one, called Lola and the Boy Next Door. It was alright. I didn't really care to read the other ones, but I haven't read anything from her in a long time, so this one sounds good. And then I have The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. She came from nothing. They have everything. Let the games begin. It says, secret passages, elaborate riddles, billions at stake. So this kind of sounds like a murder mystery game sort of thing. That sounds good. I love murder mysteries. Avery Grams has a plan for a better future. Survive high school, win a scholarship, and get out. But her luck changes in an instant when billionaire Tobias Hawthorne dies and leaves her virtually his entire fortune. The only catch? Avery must move into a sprawling mansion full of secret passages, riddles, and codes. Unfortunately for Avery, Hawthorne's house is also occupied by the family that was just disinherited. This includes the 4 Hawthorne grandsons, dangerous, magnetic boys who grew up with every expectation that one day they would inherit billions. Heir apparent Grayson is convinced that Avery is a con woman, and he's determined to take her down. But his brother Jameson views her as their grandfather's last hurrah, a twisted riddle, a puzzle to be solved. Caught in a world of wealth and privilege, with danger around every turn, Avery would have to play the game herself just to survive. So it sounds very mysterious. And this is also a series. They're talking about the second one here called The Hawthorne Legacy. I have to get to the first one first. I read this author before. I don't remember what it was called, but it was a fantasy novel about werewolves. And it was alright. So hopefully this one is good too. So those were the books I've acquired recently, like this year, some last year. And I look forward to either reading them for the first time or rereading them. And I will see you next time.